Good morning, everyone. Grab some coffee, find your tables, and settle in. You'll notice you're sitting with a different group today, and that was intentional. We have a lot to accomplish over the next 3 days, and I want us to hear new perspective and learn from one another. First, I just want to say how excited I am to be here with all of you. Looking back on this past year, we've been through a lot together. We've completed countless classroom walkthroughs, analyzed benchmark data, celebrated successes, faced challenges, said goodbye to a few staff members, and now we're preparing to welcome 9 new teachers to the Tennyson family. Through every high and low, one thing has stayed the same. You have continued showing up for our kids every single day. I know this work isn't easy, and I want you to know how much I appreciate everything you've done for our kids. I want to start this morning by sharing something that really stuck with me from one of my classrooms walked through last fall. I visited three sixth grade classrooms on the same day. All three teachers were teaching the exact same standard during the same week. But what I saw looked completely different in each classroom. In one classroom, in one classroom, students were engaged in meaningful problem solving and rich discussion. In another, students were quietly completing a worksheet packet with very little interaction. And in the third classroom, the lesson fell somewhere in the middle. These are dedicated teachers who care deeply about students. So wasn't about effort. It wasn't about anyone doing something wrong. What it showed me was that as a campus, we didn't yet have shared understanding of what we wanted every student to know and be able to do, or how we would know they had learned it. The realization became the reason we are here today. Over the next 3 days, we're going to work together to close the gap, not by working harder, but by working together. Before we jump in, let's establish a few norms. First, take care of your needs. If you need to step out, grab another cup of coffee, stretch, or take a quick break, please do. Second, be respectful of every voice in this room. Some of you have been here for many years. Others are brand new to Tennyson. Every perspective matters, and we're going to learn from one another over these next few days. Third, ask questions, real questions, even the uncomfortable ones. If something doesn't make sense or you're wondering why we're doing something a certain way, ask. I much rather have an honest conversation together than have unanswered questions turning to hallways conversations later. I also want to take a moment to welcome our newest staff members. Will our teachers who join us this spring please stand? Let's give them warm Tennyson welcome. We are excited you're here. Most new teachers don't experience this kind of professional learning before the school year starts, so you have a unique opportunity to help shape our culture from the very beginning. Please don't feel like you need to sit quietly because you're new. Sometimes the best questions come from the people seeing things with fresh eyes, so we want to hear from you. I also know how many you probably have a long to-do list running through your head right now. Your classroom isn't completely set up. There are lessons to plan, curriculum to organize, and supplies to unpack. I get it. We'll absolutely have time to focus on all of those things before students arrive. But I truly believe if we spread time building a strong culture, first, everything else becomes easier throughout the school year. Culture has to come before logistics. This past year, we've focused on three main priorities: student growth, teacher growth, and positive relationships. Those priorities aren't changing. Everything we're doing over the next 3 days connects back to those three goals. But I also want to be honest with you. During our first year together, much of that responsibility rested on the administrative team. We analyzed data, we identified trends, and we led many of the conversations. That was necessary while we were building systems, but that's not sustainable. More importantly, that's not the kind of school I want us to become. If I'm the only person who knows which students are struggling or which students need more challenge, then I become a bottleneck instead of a leader. Real improvement happens when everyone owns the work. Student growth becomes everyone's responsibility. Teacher growth happens every week through collaboration, not just during evaluations. And positive relations becomes even stronger because no one feels like they're doing this work alone. I don't want next year to be about what I accomplish. I want it to be together about what we accomplish together. So the four critical questions. So what do we make that happen? So how do we make that happen? By building a true professional learning community. Now, I know many of you heard the term PLC before. Some of you may have worked in schools where PLC became another planning meeting. Others may remember it become a complaint session. That's not what we're building here. A true PLC center around four critical questions. What do we want them to learn? How will we know what they have learned? How will we respond when they do not learn it? And how will we respond when they already know it or master it? These four questions become the foundation for every collaborative conversation we have. Take a look at the handout on your table. One thing you will notice is none of these questions can be answered effectively by one teacher working alone, behind a closed door, classroom door. They require collaboration, share expectations, share assessment, and share solution. This think back to those three sixth grade classrooms I mentioned earlier. A teacher had a different answer to the very first question. PLC helps us build one shared answer so students receive consistent high quality. Instructions don't matter whose classroom they're in. Now I'd like you to take about 30 seconds. Turn to someone at your table and share which of these questions feels the least familiar to you. Which one do you think about the least in your classroom? Go ahead. All right, let's come back together. I heard many of you mention questions three and four. That's completely understandable. Most educators receive a lot of training on what to teach and how to assess learning. We spend much less learning what happens after the assessment. That's exactly what we'll continue exploring as we strengthen our MTSS process this year. I'm gonna play a video. We're all on the same team. As you watch this short video, I want you to think about our campus, not as separate grade levels or departments, but as one team working together, the same goal. Watch the video. One thing I always take away from the One thing I take away always from this video is how simple the message really is. We're all on the same team. That means we celebrate together. We solve problems together. We support one another. When one team struggles, it isn't just their challenge. It's all of ours. Those are our students, not yes, your students, not just my students, our students. I'll admit, the first time I watched this video years ago, I thought it felt a little cheesy. But then longer I've worked in education, the more I've realized that the simplest ideas are often the most important ones. Strong schools aren't successful because have a perfect strategy. They're successful because the adults truly believe they're working together. That's the culture we're building here. So, how do PLC help us achieve our main things? When teachers consistently work together around these four questions, students' growth becomes a shared responsibility. Teacher growth becomes part of our weekly routine instead of something that only happens during evaluations. And relationships naturally become stronger because we're no longer working in isolation. I've worked in schools where incredible teachers burned out simply because they felt like they had to carry everything by themselves. That is not the culture I want for Tennyson. No one should feel like they're doing this work alone. So this year we're focusing on three major initiatives. Strengthening effective instructional practices, improving our MTSS and intervention system, and redesigning advisory so it becomes intentional and meaningful for students. These aren't three separate initiatives. They're all connected to our PLC work. As our collaborative team becomes stronger, these systems become stronger too. Next year, we'll build on that foundation by introducing SMART goals data notebooks, and stronger common formative and summative assessment. We're taking this one step at a time because lasting improvement doesn't happen overnight. It happens through consistent, intentional, and work together. So let's be honest about what this is not. Before we wrap up this session, I want to be clear about what this work is not. This is not about adding more meetings. It's not about creating more paperwork. It is not about shifting the principal responsibilities onto teachers, and it's definitely not about evaluating or judging one another. A successful PLC only works when people still feel safe through enough to be honest. Safe enough to say that lesson didn't go the way I planned. Have my students struggle with this assessment. Can someone help me think through this? That's how improvement happens. Now to not by pretending everything went perfectly. Trust takes time to build. Collaboration takes practice. It probably won't feel perfect in October. That's okay. Growth never is. So we're gonna transition to session two. Well, we've talked about our purpose, our priorities, the four critical questions, and where we head as a campus. Now it's your turn. On your table, you'll find three different color sticky notes. As a team, I'd like you to write what you already know about PLCs, what you're wondering about, and what you hope to learn about this next 3 days. Be honest. Whether you had a great experience with PLCs or challenging one, every perspective matters. We'll use your responses to build a no WL, KWL wall together. And on day three, we'll come back to it and reflect on how much we've grown as a staff. Let's get started.